still remember how it used to be. Holding hands, running wild and free. Crossed our hearts, said we'd never let go. I still think about our younger days, how we dreamed about a better life. Holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in our memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you. Like I remember you. Like I remember you. We drew our names in the pavement, thinking about how we never change. I still remember how it used to be. I still think about our younger days, how we dreamed about a better life. Holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in our memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you. Like I remember you. Thought we lost everything, just lost in our memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you.
Hey everyone, it's Mike from BGN. Before the show starts, I wanted to quickly tell you about a very special new sponsor that we have at the network, Golden Goal Press. Now, I've intentionally been very selective about who we partner with as a network because I never want to advertise for someone that we don't think would benefit you personally. That's why Roughneck Scarves is and continues to be a great sponsor, as they've been able to outfit tons of supporters groups and organizations with amazing scarves. Golden Goal Press is unique because after researching tons of companies, we decided the best way to serve your needs directly is to create a new company that can work directly with you. Golden Goal Press helps you create custom shirts, hats, mugs, flags. Literally, the list of items can go on, and we do it with a unique personal touch that provides you with the best products at a fraction of the cost of other print shops online. So the next time you're looking for one custom item or hundreds, please go check out goldengoalpress.com. As always, we appreciate your support. And now, on with the show.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. My name is Edson Ochoa and accompanied is my co-host Jacob Young. Down in the Valley is brought to you by Roughneck Scarves over here and Golden Goal Press. As you guys heard from Mike from the BGN, Golden Goal Press is actually a new sponsor for all of the Beautiful Game Network. So we want to welcome them over to the Beautiful Game Network's family, and thank you Roughneck, thank you Golden Goal Press for helping us out. Be sure to check out goldengoalpress.com if you guys want to create custom shirts, hats, mugs, and other items, for yourself or organization, club, anything, whatever. Check out all of their products at a fraction of the price of other places. Like I said, goldengoldpress.com. Also, thank you, Roughneck Scarves. They're the official scarf supplier, MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Having said all of this, Jacob, welcome. It's a new week, and we finally start the show with good news because the Toros finally, it took them how many weeks? But they finally got their first win, man.
Yeah, exactly. Very exciting first win. Great to be back. And, yeah, it's exciting. We finally won. Of course, yeah, it took us a long time. But why did it take us a long time? Well, maybe, of course, some controversy and, once again, some rivalry saying it could have been Houston's fault. And it might have been Houston's fault for a couple of games, including the home opener. So now that they actually got together and didn't send any freaking players down from Houston, we win a game. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not, but glad to see that we are on our winning ways and we actually look like we can compete in this league as well, which is huge. So very exciting, especially given the fact that we play on Saturday versus the Las Vegas, I wanted to call them the Knights, but Las Vegas Lights.
Wrong sport, buddy.
There.
Wrong sport.
Exactly, the Las Vegas Lights. And it's a funny date because it's, well, on 4/20, which, well, it's Las Vegas. What's their sponsor?
A dispensary.
So it should be.
I think
Exactly.
it would have been funny. I think it would have been a lot more epic had it been at Las Vegas at 420. I think knowing Las Vegas Lights, they would have gone full out on it. Like they would have embraced the whole 420 thing for their match.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat. Be sure to, don't forget to leave a like. Thank you, Gilberto. Thank you, Blues fan, for coming on right now. Be sure to like this video, share the stream, and let everybody know about Down in the Valley. We're going to be talking today. We're going to be talking about the win against Oklahoma City Energy. We're also going to be talking about the match this Saturday against Las Vegas Lights. We actually have an audio from Coach Echeverry thanks to Rey Silva and South Texas Border Sports. He went out like almost every week to practice at RGVFC. So we want to thank him for that, for giving us this audio clip. Also, we will be talking about some topics that came out during the week. Number one, it was a topic that was brought up having to do with the Houston Dash. But it's a good topic nonetheless that has to deal with RGVFC. We talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but we'll debate it on here as well. And also, we have some news that our homegrown player, Brandon Morales, has committed to Cornell University, Cornell University, and will not be playing with the Toros. I'm not sure if this is effective immediately or this is probably effective when school starts in the fall, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get some Brandon Morales for a while, but let's go ahead and start with that. Let's go ahead and start with that topic. So this is not the first time we've lost a player because he wants to go back to college. In 2017, we lost TJ Kastner. However, TJ Kastner was 100% academics. It wasn't because he wanted to play in college, if I'm not mistaken, but he really wanted to focus on getting a degree. We also lost Bryce Marion in the offseason for the same reason. He went back to Stanford. And now Brandon Morales. And I think this one kind of hurts a little bit more because, this was a homegrown player. Like, this is from the Valley.
Yeah, it does really stink. It does hurt a bit more than the others because he was a homegrown player, but at the same time, we kind of expected this from a couple of players, but given the fact that now, of course, this man's not going to get paid, it's going to be interesting. And now, of course, he's under NCAA rules. Once, of course, he signs that contract and does all of those things, it's really tough with the NCAA to see what's going to happen, but most likely it's going to happen like Cabrera Jr., as in we'll see him being able to play a bit. But as long as it doesn't affect his on-the-field performance, I'm fine with that. Or course, we will be saying goodbye to him basically probably coming January or July, June or July, sometime around there. We'll probably see him leave. So it's going to be a very interesting topic indeed that a lot of players are doing this from RGVFC, of course, not counting Bryce Marion and or TJ Kastner because theirs was mainly for academic purposes, but we're talking about Cabrera Jr., and then, of course, now Morales wanting to play D1 soccer. So it could be a smart move, to say the least, but now, of course, they're out of the Houston Dynamo's hand, so that means they can be picked up with any team when they feel like they're ready to come back to the USL, either after 4 years or after, let's say, 2, and they commit for the MLS draft.
Correct, but that's only if they decide to commit to the actual draft. If they ever, I'm assuming, if they do not commit, they're able to come back. Let's say in the case of Brandon Morales, if he would like to re-sign with the Toros, have a feeling that he's able to. That obviously that's all in the hands of the player, the decision of the player whether he wants to come back specifically with the Toros, or if he feels he has an opportunity to make it directly to MLS, then he can decide to commit to the NCAA draft and fall into there's the risk of being signed by an MLS team but playing with another USL team. So it's all about what kind of future he sees, and whatever decision he decides to make in the future. This is obviously this is like way into the future right now, but I think whatever decision he has, I think it's something that I'm sure he's thought up for a while now, and we have to respect it and obviously show him the support him in his future, because the only one that's going to be affected by that is him. And if he feels that's the best decision for him, then dude, that's excellent. It's like Blue says, congratulations to him either way. Only it's only a Ivy League public university, like he said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's he's still playing soccer, he's still doing all that, and yes, it is an Ivy League school, which in a way that's going to be 2 times tougher than if you were to, let's say, go play at UConn, Stanford, or Stanford. I still will think that it would be easier than a regular Ivy League school just by the smallest of margins. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's still going to be playing. It's going to be interesting to see how the skill level compares, as we've already seen this season from our 2 signees that were signed to Houston Dynamo after that contract sent down here, of course, to play, to get polished up and all of that. We've seen that they haven't necessarily been that impressive in a way, mm-hmm. too. Maybe one has started to gain ground again, but they just haven't been impressive. So now the difference is he's had some more experience with an actual team, seeing the way that actually works out with the USL. So he'll have that extra little, momentum going into the season. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure.
Plus, believe it or not, the fact that he has trained with the Dynamo, alongside the Dynamo in preseason, and having that, that exposure to the first team, that kind of helps him a lot in his accolades as he nears this transition from college back to professional soccer. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we wish him the best of luck. That piece of news actually came out just today, past noon around there, I think. That's when he himself announced it in his social media, and really proud of the kid. He's shown a level of maturity at his age that I wish a lot of other players would have, younger and older, not necessarily with the Toros, but just in soccer in general. And hopefully, wish him just a lot of success in the future. But I think now let's go ahead and talk a little bit of what we saw at the match against Oklahoma City Energy. It was a really, really tough match in the beginning, especially in the first half. It seemed like Oklahoma had the better chances in the first half, or at least were able to control the Toros to not have a lot of dangerous opportunities. I don't know what you were there at the match, in person. What did you see out of that?
Well, yeah, during the first half, to me, I saw a lot of the same. Yes, Oklahoma City had the better of chances and things like that, but of course it was that final touch once again, that final kind of movement in that third center to not necessarily have that advantage going in there. Mm-hmm. There was a sort of change in that second half that someone lit a match or something where the team basically exploded. So yeah, it was a different Toros team in the first half compared to the second half. So yeah, okay, and a different OKC team as well. But considering that, what I think the difference was that really the Toros weren't necessarily controlling weren't necessarily controlling possession of the ball in that first half, even when they'd have those opportunities in the first half. Yes, they couldn't find that extra or that last little touch to really make any chances happen in that first half. Yes, they got off a couple of shots, if I'm not mistaken, so that was a positive, a good thing, but nothing that necessarily impressed me so much. But of course, from OKC Energy, I'm glad to see that Cordy did a great job, especially in that first half, given, just like we said, there were more opportunities. Even that defense as well, defense that gelled themselves together, helped basically kind of start those couple of counterattacks in that first half.
You mentioned, I think the only Dynamo call-up or loan down was my favorite player, Sam Junkwa. But other than that, it was Nico Cordy in the back, Andrew Samuels, Sam Junkwa, Connor Donovan, and Kyle Adams, the center back pairing, the one we all want, the one we were all waiting for. And it might just be a coincidence, but I have a feeling that, this defensive organization that you saw, it has to be with the return of Connor Donovan. Helping out Kyle Adams, lead the back, lead these young guys like Junkwa and Andrew Samuels. Then in the midfield, you had Hector Copete, you had Isidro Martinez, you had Malik Foster playing like a center attacking midfield. You had Wilmer Cabrera Jr. and, I think Malik Foster was playing more on the wing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, but I believe you're correct on that, actually. He was playing more on the wing alongside, considering that both players were. And yeah, speaking of that wing real quick, it was interesting because there were a couple of times where the Toros could have gotten the ball out to the wingers and probably maybe made an assist into the box or something like that. Well, it just didn't happen because the player, I've really forgot his number and all that, but he was just looking at one side, and that's something that you can't do as a soccer player, is just be on one side. You've got to be looking around constantly to see where you could pass it. Of course, he was kind of being defended, but at the same time, he could have turned around and looked and saw Chuy Enriquez, saw basically anyone on the wing. So
do you feel like maybe
thing that I took away?
Maybe it might be some sort of I don't remember either who it was. I mean, but it sounds like maybe it could have been Copete. And we know Copete hasn't had a lot of minutes on this team. So do you think that maybe if it was Copete, we'd have to go back and look at the full game, to try to verify this. But if it was Copete, do you think that maybe this lack of confidence of being a starter for the first time might have played into effect of what you're saying of not passing or not making the correct passing decision?
Well, I think so for sure. It's always you practice, of course, but what the difference is, what they don't tell you is you're going to be playing in front of basically, yes, it's 3,000 fans. It's not as impressive, although other places in the USL would say, that's amazing. You had 3,000 fans. I wish we would have that many or something crazy like that. But yeah, you don't expect it. And of course, you're nervous. You're playing against an opponent instead of just your teammate that you once saw on the pitch. So, it becomes a different game for you. And, of course, nerves can get to you, especially in the first half because, like I said, actually, I think that play might have been closer to the second half. But nonetheless, it's his first game out there. And so if it was, then, yeah, definitely nerves got to him a bit.
So, Gilberto Guajardo, he asks, should we consider Sam Junqua a loanee? I honestly don't see him playing for Houston at this point in his development, and he's been here every week so far.
No. To me, he's not a loanee at all. He's our starter, basically. He's our player that, yes, Houston Dynamo can technically say send him down each week, but he's already got these minutes, and he's looking, like you said, he's your favorite player for a reason. He's looking good.
I was being sarcastic,
Well, now he's finally actually kind of looks decent, and he showed it that he's got that chemistry with that back line now too. There's a reason why we almost had a shutout going, or we almost got a shutout towards the end of this game. One little mistake happens from even the defense, and then of course that, considering that it could have been 2-2, it's just, things like that do happen, but there's a reason why we were playing so good up to that point.
Now, in theory, yes, he is a loanee. The Houston Dynamo is always going to make this announcement. It should come out tomorrow, actually, for this week's, if they'll be loaning down anybody. Because I have seen Sam Junqua on the bench for the Dynamo a couple of times earlier in the season. I think it's been twice that he's been in the Dynamo bench. However, in theory, because he has an MLS contract, then yes, he is a loanee. But like you say, he's played so many minutes with RGV, it seems more like he's considered like that in between USL and MLS. And I hope you're right in saying that, hey, well, this guy has improved a lot, that Sam Junqua has improved a lot to show why he should be better than Robert Coronado in that position. And because, like we mentioned before, like at the beginning, I felt like Coronado was better than Junqua, but now I think he's starting to gel. He's starting to get used to his teammates, used to the environment, used to the valley. Don't know. But he's starting to kind of gel together his play in that back line. So yeah, I do kind of expect him to see him against Las Vegas Slides more than anything, because he's got to continue, that momentum that he's been carrying for these past couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Carrying that momentum will help him indeed. And it's, of course, like we've said it before, it's unfair for him to be switched from basically house to house on a weekly basis, if you want to kind of call it like a divorce, because that's kind of how they treat this sometimes. So, yeah, he does at the moment need to stay down in RGV, I think, because, yes, he has played it. He still technically does have this MLS contract and all of that, but we've only seen him on the bench for Houston Dynamo, and we've seen him more times down here, and now he's gelling with this team. So if you want to take that basically perfect puzzle piece now away from this team, I mean, we've said it before on this show, don't change what's not broken. Or, don't fix whatever. You get my point. It's so far it's looking good, and it's been looking good up to this point, especially the week before where we almost got 3 points there as well versus New Mexico United. There was just one little tweak that needed to be changed with this OKC Energy team, and now we're winning and we're 3 points away. So if they do change it, and if Sam Junko ends up not being on that lineup, I'm sure Robert will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, you're taking away something that was there for a good reason in the first place. That man, Sam Junko, is not ready just yet for the MLS. I don't think he'll probably be ready this year until, of course, maybe there's a bit of a downslope with the Houston Dynamo. God willing, that does not happen, though, of course, just for the Houston Dynamo's sake. But
because
yeah, I think he's in a good place right now.
Yeah, because take a look at the Dynamo roster. Who do you have on top of him? Hold on, let me adjust my volume because apparently in the actual recordings my volume is low compared to yours, so I think it should be better. So below him or above him, actually, you have players like Adam Lundqvist and DeMarcus Beasley. DeMarcus right now is currently undergoing, he's nursing an injury that he picked up in the CONCACAF Champions League. But other than that, I mean, you have Adam Lundqvist, who's been doing really, really well these past couple of matches. Who else? I can't think of anybody else that plays left back position, but I can assure you, like, if you put in AJ De La Garza there and then put Kevin Garcia in the right back position, even though it's not the best position for him, but I'm pretty sure it could happen as far as depth-wise, especially if Wilmer Cabrera Sr. thinks that he's still not ready for MLS. And I have a feeling, like you say, like that's exactly what he thinks. That is why he is being sent down to RGV so much, because he needs to continue his development down here at RGV.
Yeah, and right there you can already tell, and this is a good thing as well. You can already tell that that RGVFC and Houston Dynamo have kind of learned from their mistakes. And what I mean by that is, yes, they're sending down. They did send down a lot of players, but now they're just sending down this one specific player. Why? Because he's a rookie, and a hardcore rookie too. We're seeing a lot of players just like that, especially from the MLS draft, that have been sent down here to try and perfect their talent, to see what's basically up with these players. Can they tackle USL? If they can tackle USL, well, then of course we can bring them up to the MLS, see what they can do at that level real quick, and then see if they need to be sent back down, send them back down. Sure enough, we've seen that. So that's a great thing. They've learned a bit from it, and I'd love to see Sam Junko here week in, week out, just, of course, to know that they're being treated the correct way, if you get what I'm saying here. And, of course, he's looking better, which is a great sign, especially if he stays in this back line once, of course, he's ready and once there's enough depth and all of that. Of course, Houston's always lacked at that left back position. You talk about that left back position. There hasn't been that much of DeMarcus Beasley, thankfully, because in my opinion, yes, he did start off with a hot streak this year, but I've liked, like you said, Lundqvist right in that position. And so far, that lineup has just been synchronized beautifully, and I've enjoyed it to watch Houston Dynamo soccer, which I haven't necessarily said in a while, since even 2016 was kind of a rocky season, considering we almost missed the playoffs as well. We clinched the playoff berth with 2 games left in the regular season or something crazy like that at SKC. So yeah, just craziness there. And of course, loving this season now, and especially even the Toros looking better. And let's remind ourselves, we're 3 points out of a playoff spot at the moment, so it's pretty exciting stuff.
And
now.
It's funny because when you look at what the national USL pundits write about, or the lack of writing about the Toros, they have Phoenix Rising high in the power stats, and they're basically at the bottom of the table in the Western Conference as well. And they're like, well, they might be here, but this is why we have them here. I'm like, and yet the Toros and the Bold and San Antonio are being slept on. Like, it's just a matter of these teams. It's just a matter of fine-tuning some details, and especially with RGVFC, it's just a matter of fine-tuning some details, and they're going to get their groove. And I think we saw it. Against Oklahoma City, that they have the potential to be a good team that is going to be a force to be reckoned with as the middle of the season, at the end of the season comes in. So if other teams are going to brush off RGVFC's danger just because of where they're at the table, boy, they're going to be in for a big surprise.
And we've already basically had that, not to mention with the announcers week in and week out, especially when we went on the road, they were saying this team doesn't play like they're, of course, bottom of the table. They play like they're fighting for first place week in, week out, stuff like that, which, yes, technically we are fighting for first place. We just can never get those wins. And so, yeah, for the lack of getting written about, it gets summed back up right in the commentary throughout the games. So that's something that's good in on itself. And yes, of course, we can shock the teams week in, week out. The only thing that they really have against us right now for teams that we're playing against is a little bit of counterattacking football. As we've noticed, it still has happened. It happened versus the OKC match. Why we kind of struggled in the first half is because, well, it was a bit of counterattacking football. And yes, the Toros didn't necessarily get off to the best of starts with that game. But even when they had possession and things like that, and OKC had to back up, it came back the other way just like that. And that's when OKC became dangerous, in my opinion. And so, yeah, they only have the park the bus thing against the Toros. And the Toros, I think, have finally figured out a way to get through that. So, yeah, let those not necessarily popular opinions, or let the sleepers sleep, and they'll come back up on top. I mean, perfect example, once again, was USC and Texas, back in 2005-06. There was a 30 for 30 written about that, and it's the same thing. Texas didn't get any coverage that year, and all of a sudden you see this guy named Vince Young coming up the ranks and getting to the national title and beating this two-year undefeated USC team out of the blue. So, yeah, just let the sleepers sleep, and they'll show you what they can do when they play you.
Yeah, so right now, technically, the Toros are in last place. They are 18th out of 18. But, like you said, the difference between 8th place, which is Orange County SC, and the Toros is just 5 points. Or not 3 points, actually. It's 3 points. Because Orange County's got 8 points, Toros have 5. So all it takes is a good streak from the Toros, and you're in playoff position. So right now, the Western Conference is very competitive. So as long as we brush this little bad streak behind, and we start earning points, especially at home, then we're gonna see the true Toros that people want. I think right now the biggest goal for this team is be in playoff position. That's it. Once you get a groove on, and you make it to playoffs, then you can start thinking of making a run for the cup.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the perfect thing to really say here is that, well, yeah, it's late April, early May. Springtime is almost finished, and so we got the summer. That's when, and of course, this is all we've got to compare them to, is the 2016 Toros, which is a shame because that team was totally different, and we talked about them tremendously on the show. But that's a team to compare them to. You want that playoff position team. You want that hot streak team. And of course, yeah, why I bring them up is because that's when that team started to get hot. That's when that 2016 team started to get hot in that summer. So we're coming up to that. We're coming up kind of close to it. So that's when I see RGVFC, of course, getting on that run. We're already kind of seeing it, and this is a better team. Of course, for the next 3 matches, you got to win versus Las Vegas Lights and then get, let's see here, it's 3-game road trip or something like that as well over the span of 3 to 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you got to get maybe 1 win someplace and 2 ties would be, of course, the goal. The dream is to win all 3 of them, which is almost impossible. But like I say, it's almost. And, of course, at worst, get all 3 of those draws.
So here's another thing about this match against OKC Energy. The amount of shots on target, actually. Sure, the percentage in and of itself is still not great, but the actual shots on target, the actual number, is a lot better. I think last week it was like 4, or maybe I'm being too high on that. It was like 3 or 4 shots on target. This time, 8 shots on target by the Toros. 21 shots, okay, but it means like they're going to shoot and they're going to try. But it looks like now they're working, and you can see that the accuracy of these shots is improving. They're actually putting the goalkeeper to work, and they put Cody Lorendi to work in this, especially in the second half.
They did for sure. In the second half, they did. And those 8 goals, or those 8 shots on goal were impressive, but they were still lacking something. And what were they lacking? Pace. I don't think Toros necessarily got all their shots off that they wanted to with the correct pace that they wanted to. And what I meant by that was they just seemed a bit weak. And so when you had those weak shots, it wasn't necessarily as impressive. But you still made Lorendi work, and that was fantastic. And that's why, of course, when we got the go-ahead goal, when we got the first goal, actually, I take that back, it was a nice little change of momentum because we made him work. And then, of course, Chuy Enriquez being Chuy Enriquez, taking the goalie out for a stroll out of his box and then finally chipping the ball right over the goalkeeper, something that when you hear Coach, he will say exactly, that's something that we wanted from him for a while. So
there's something I have to say about that play. Chuy Enriquez made Atiba Harris, which is an MLS experienced player, and the other center back, which was, I believe was it Williams? I think. Atiba Harris and DeFont. Another player that has USL experience. So these are 2 experienced center backs. He made them look like authentic dumbasses. He made them look like NCAA defenders or high school defenders. Literally, like you look at the play and you see how Atiba Harris was like, oh, I'm just going to stick my foot on and see whatever happens. And he made him look like a fool. And then he made Cody Lorendi look like a fool. Like, this is the Chuy Enriquez that we all want. That agile player, plays for the stands, but he's effective. And go ahead.
Well, yeah, he was effective finally, and he has been effective all season. It's just been those passes or those touches or something like that. He hadn't necessarily been able to do that exactly. He only was able to take far shots for a while because, he just didn't have that extra oomph or didn't have that extra passer that was able to maybe he was able to pass into the box and they were able to get it kind of back out him for where he could do a right shot or a left shot or something different than that. So finally he had that elusiveness and finally was able to find some space. And yes, of course, that goes back to OKC being weak on defending, which was something that we hadn't necessarily seen, especially from the first half. What was said in the locker room is still, of course, just
a mystery.
Exactly, it's a mystery. Like every week we try to get something from a coach saying that, but of course it's either a no comment because it was not nice things that were said, or
oh
something else.
no, no. You know,
Hey, I mean, it's locker room talk. Where I'm not. I love you, coach. You say whatever you need to the players if they're not playing well.
chew them out.
I give you exactly.
We love you, coach. We love you. I know if you're listening to us, I'm telling you, whatever you're doing, it's working, and hopefully it continues to improve. So another interesting thing about this is that now it seemed like Oklahoma City came in and wanted to have possession, but they made them look very uncomfortable. Now, the thing I do want to say is in the goal, that OKC Energy goal, what was the defense thinking? What were they thinking? Like, it was a free kick, right? And in typical kids fashion, everybody starts running towards the ball, towards the direction of the ball. And you had 3 OKC attackers, including Atiba Harris, who scored. He had them all alone in the far post. Like, really? Like, what was it? Like, and don't get me started. So we'll talk. Let's talk about that first. You know, because you look at that play, which I'm trying to right now, but it takes forever. So they take the free kick, direct free kick, and it hits the bar, or not the bar, but the
penalty.
No, yeah, that's the penalty. No, I meant the wall. Sorry. And then the ball just manages to. Oh wow. The ball is sent over to the right hand side of the field, and he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players, 7 Toros defenders, like all in the right hand side, or in their case, their left hand side of the box, with 3 OKC attackers all alone inside the 8-yard box.
Yeah, it's just bad luck in that.
Bad luck,
yes,
or lack of concentration.
Well, first, because it's bad luck because it's basically the Great Wall of the Toros there, and so it bounces off of them. Normally what happens, because you're saying that it's on their left-hand side, well, the ball bounces the opposite direction. So they're expecting something, they're expecting something else to happen, and it doesn't. So, yes, it could be a bit of a mental lapse, but at the same time, you think that you've done your job by blocking the ball, which is big, but then, of course, you've got to defend just in case you don't get that ball back. And they kind of did, but just at the wrong place at the wrong time, in my opinion, and that's why this ball goes through. Yes, of course, it happens on a free kick. Luckily, they were up 2-0, or at that time before that goal, instead of 1, because that could have been a totally different match. And yes, of course, we're still not even talking about one big thing that did happen during that match. I kind of hinted at it, but at that same exact time, it still, yes, they got lucky on 1 point for sure. And then, of course, it comes back to bite them just a bit, but in my opinion, that's just a bit of bad luck. It could be a bit of mental lapses, but really, to me, it's bad luck.
I have to disagree with you, because you look at the play. You got six people, technically 5 on the wall, and then 1 that's supposed to be covering one of the attackers. Right? The ball hits the wall, it lands in the middle, and then all of a sudden, like you see everybody's just looking at the ball. And trying to follow the ball. So you got like 4 players going towards 1 player. Neither Connor Donovan nor Robert Castellanos, or who else is there? There's I think it's Nico Lemoyne, number 19. Is it? Yeah, Nico Lemoyne. They're all watching and Kyle Adams. They're all watching the ball. Nobody looks back, which is what you're supposed to, especially your center backs. You're supposed to look back to see who's open. Because if you see you got 3-4 people in front of you going after one guy, then your attention shouldn't be on that one guy. It should be on checking to see who's open, and going back and covering him. Nobody did. Everybody's looking at the ball, waiting to see what they're going to do. By the time they turn around and they realize that you got three guys unmarked, it's already too late. Atiba Harris has already headed the ball, and no matter what the defender tried to do to clear it off the line, it was gonna go in for the goal. So that's why I think that was a mental lapse and not necessarily bad luck, because they had time to organize themselves correctly inside the box. They didn't, and it ended up being a goal. Also, gave the OKC Energy a bit of momentum right at the last minutes. I'm gonna be honest. I was kind of worried when I was watching it on TV. I was kind of worried that we were gonna draw this match.
Yeah, and I see why you were. The only difference is, well, I guess I am going to say it because I can't attack the ref. And here's why. It was more than 5 minutes that the ref, I don't think the pro ref decided to add, because yes, they did say it was 5 minutes of added time, but I think it was more than that. I think it was 6.
There were some,
close to,
if I recall correctly,
7,
there was some instances where the players fell down and were trying to waste time, and so he kept on adding to it to compensate for that. At least that's what I got, because there were some times where they fell down and they, the typical I'm hurt kind of. And so the referee, which is what you're supposed to do as a referee, you're wasting time. Okay, well, you're not gonna get what you want. I'm just gonna add more time because then it's obvious time wasting, right? So you're not gonna compensate. You're not gonna reward the team that's wasting time. That's looking at it the neutral perspective. Obviously, as a fan, I was like, what the hell, ref? Like, just whistle the game already. But technically, obviously, this is all under referee's discretion, but it isn't frowned upon for a referee to compensate more time in those aspects. Or if there was an actual injury that they had to bring in the trainer, blah, 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 then he'll compensate more as well in those aspects. But another play that I do want to look at, and I want to get your thoughts on this first, the penalty. Was that a penalty? Or was that not a penalty to you?
That was a penalty. Clear as day, a penalty. It's just, and once again, it goes back to the Tulsa match. And why am I bringing that up? Well, it's because the Toros fell 1-0 early in the first half of that game due to a penalty in that way. Toros let their guard down a bit, and of course were pinned to the back. And then you have a clear that wasn't necessarily cleared, and that's from Kyle Adams. Adams didn't necessarily clear the ball away that well, and so what happened was, of course, OKC comes back, and guess who's already out of his box? Well, none other than Nico Corti. And so, of course, the players kind of coming at Nico Corti. While Nico Corti, clear as day, misses the ball, gets his leg a bit. And so that's the problem. That's what the ref – I'm not necessarily sure if the ref actually saw that, but even to me, and instead of sitting inside of the press box this time, I was actually sitting outside of the table next to a friend of mine that was covering the game for the monitor there. So we both saw it clear as day. Just bad defense from them. He wasn't able to get it. So, yeah, clear as day penalty. Ref points to the spot. Yes, it for sure was a penalty in my eyes, for sure.
I look at this play. The more I see it, this is a typical lack of communication between center back and goalkeeper. Because Kyle Adams has so for starters, the cross really did not have a lot of power. It wasn't tricky for the goalkeeper to handle it, correct? So,
It was.
yeah. So Kyle Adams is actually in front of Nico Corti. He had the option to trap it, clear it, whatever. Usually it's when the goalkeeper says keeper or something along those lines is when they decide, or the center back will let it pass so the goalkeeper can get it. I highly doubt the way that Nico Corti reacted to this play. I highly doubt that he yelled keeper or mine, whatever, because Kyle Adams, he sees that Nico Corti's behind him, right? Okay. So instead of clearing the ball or whatever, he jumps over the ball to let it go through. Nico was not expecting this. Nico was expecting for Kyle Adams to clear it. So when he realizes, as he was going out of his box, when he realizes that Kyle Adams let it go, he has to hastily make that movement in order to try and grab the ball himself. But what ends up happening is his legs hit the ball first, and before he can corral it with his arms, it bounces off back to the striker. Gilbert actually says that no era penal. Gilbert, why was it not a penalty for you? I want to get your thoughts, because you look at the instant replay, and you see for number 2, Nico really, I don't think he should have gone with his feet first. But then again, I don't know, because Nico was in a bad position on the ground, and any other striker could have easily chipped it over him if he had just stayed there and done nothing. And Kyle Adams had his back to the defender, the way he was positioned. So I gotta looking at it now and analyzing this, I have to give the benefit of the doubt to Nico why he went feet first, trying to clear the ball away. Because you expect him, he's going to chip it over, towards the goal. He chipped it, but he just chipped it out. So that's why there was some criticism. Well, why did he go? Why did he tackle him? Blah, blah, blah. As a keeper, you expect that when you're on the ground and there's nobody behind you, you're going to expect that he's gonna go for it, because it wasn't really that bad of an angle to take the shot. So your first instinct is, I have to get the ball or the player, but I'm not going to allow him to take a shot, a comfortable shot. So I guess there is a benefit of the doubt there. But this whole play was started with a lack of communication between keeper and center back. Now, luckily, the ball hit the post. I think... So Gilbert says I was just making a joke, but if I had to defend, I'd say he was going for the ball. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get at, Gilbert. But the thing is, the rule says it's make contact or attempt to make contact deliberately, And in this case, if you look at the close-up, he does make some contact with number 10's foot. But because number 10 chips it before Nico gets to him, and you can say, oh well, he dragged his feet looking for the contact, but in game speed, all you see is, oh, goalkeeper made contact, attacker fell, okay, that's a pen. So to me, it was the right call. To Jacob, you think it's a good call too.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of those things where they have to, the defense has to minimize those little moments of confusion, lack of concentration, Thankfully, this time it didn't affect us negatively, but you have to look at how it affected us negatively last year, and we cannot continue to go back into that.
Oh, yeah, and that kind of what I'm hinting at as well there. Yes, the ones real quick, just on kind of a side note, and what's really kind of blending together with that penalty was exactly, and I mean, this is going to hurt both of us as much as it hurts me to say this, Edson, but in I think it was 11, when Houston, or 2012, when Houston Dynamo had the 1-0 goal in StubHub Center or Home Depot Center, I forget what it was called at the time. And then Tally Hall does that kind of exact thing, same thing, and draws a penalty and gets a yellow card for that. And then, of course, Landon Donovan ends up sinking that penalty, or whoever it was ends up sinking that penalty, and then the rest, of course, is history with freaking LA Galaxy. But yeah, that penalty, in my opinion, kind of blended together. And yeah, it didn't hurt us that time. Luckily, I think the soccer gods were on our side at that point, due to the fact that 2 weeks ago, or however long that was, we had that happen to us where we hit the post. And then, of course, they came right back after us with just, well, scoring a goal there for them, due to the fact that you say our players had enough time to regain. I say it just happened because, yeah, we did leave a player open there, but into the back of the net it went. And then, of course, the added time be a bit extra due to the fact that our players were being a bit slow. But in my opinion, I think our players were fine. He just added a couple of minutes for that. But then again, I probably have to go back and even rewatch, I guess, the end to see how many times our players decided to take their time on things. So
yeah. So let's go ahead and listen to what Coach Echeverry said during practice, kind of transitioning over to this match against Las Vegas Lights. At the end, in this match, we got the win, 2-1. Now we got our third straight game at home, and we got to get another 3 points if we want to continue going down the correct path in the season and alleviate those complaints that the fans have had this season. So let's take a listen to what Coach Echeverry said.
Coach, what's the momentum feeling like after the first win, and now what's the locker room mood like at this point, now that you're going to close out this 3-game homestand?
Well, we thought that, it's important for us, to make sure we get points. Obviously, the first game against New Mexico, we felt that we did relatively well, and we could have, got out of there with a couple opportunities that we have, especially late in the game to snatch 3. Unfortunately, it's not, and they are a quality side, hence they haven't lost yet. So it's not like they were so easy. We made some adjustments, made a couple of changes against OKC, and fortunately we were able to get a couple of goals and get the win. I was extremely happy for the players, for the organization. But as soon as Monday came around, it's preparation for Vegas. For the players, for us, as soon as the game ended, the preparation for Vegas began. So it's important that we continue that, and we're happy, but it's far from for us start celebrating too much.
And now you mentioned Las Vegas. They're the last team in this 3-game homestand. What have you seen on them on film that could create some problems for you coming into Saturday's match?
Well, I think that for us is that they're very dangerous. Obviously, they just scored 5 goals in Tacoma at home, and so they're very dynamic teams. A team that likes to play, keep the ball around. They send numbers forward with power and company, and so they're also extremely dangerous on set pieces. They score quite a few goals, so they have a lot of weapons. Obviously, their coach is an experienced coach with Eric Wynalda, a big international player. So we're expecting a tough game.
Now, this Saturday is Bark in the Park night. Any pet that you may have had recently or even in your childhood that you grew up caring for or anything like that?
I think it's a bit of a sugarcoat for sure. Yes, I think this team is a lot better due to the fact that they kind of went the right way into basically getting a couple of younger players instead of going the older version of almost retiree players. Sorry, Carson, but that's kind of how that team was last year. And of course, yeah, we talked to him earlier this season, and he said, yeah, this is a changed team for sure. Las Vegas Lights team hasn't necessarily looked like this in their existence. Of course, this is only their second year, and yes, they do look better. So I think it's sugarcoating it a bit, but we will have to expect some sort of fire from them, basically, some excitement of soccer. The whole team's from the West. We're talking, yeah, from Las Vegas to New Mexico, and of course, can't forget the Orange County SC, although Orange County SC hasn't necessarily looked as impressive as they have before. So it's just a lot of, yeah, we need to keep our A game on for sure. And OKC Energy, they were a changed team as well, and look at what happened. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen this week, but I think the Toros are up for the challenge against this new found Las Vegas team.
So I did have an issue with the button. I was muted. So I'm just going to mention the question again. You gave your response. So the question I had asked Jacob was, are they saying like there's no audio at all? No, I'm sure you guys. So basically, what I had mentioned was that Coach Echeverry mentioned that this team was very offensive minded, and they called into the attack. He mentioned that they defeated Tacoma Defiance last week 5-0. But the question that I had asked Jacob, is you look at how they started the season, 0-0 against Austin Bold in the first week. They lost against OKC Energy 2-1, lost against Portland Timbers 3-1. And then they defeated Real Monarchs 1-0, lost to San Antonio 2-1. And then last week, they defeated Las Vegas Lights 5-0. So the question was, is this really a dangerous team that we got to look out for? Like one of the most dangerous team in this conference, or does it that this 5-0 result against Tacoma kind of sugarcoated everything of what we can expect out of Las Vegas Lights FC? Personally, I mean, Jacob already gave his response, but me personally, I agree. I think that this 5-0 might be what we call a football accident, which is it just happened that they were able to score 5 on Tacoma, but I don't necessarily think that this offense is going to be as explosive as as this 5-0 makes it out to be, especially away. If you look at their away stats, it's 3 losses. They've gone out 3 times and they've lost 3 times. So this Las Vegas team isn't really a team that's going to play their best soccer going away and visiting. So obviously you got to take every opponent as if you're playing Barcelona or you're playing Real Madrid, whatever, Liverpool, whatever. You got to treat them at their best. You got to put in you got to respect them and take it like, oh, they're going to be playing our A game. So we got to be prepared for their A game. But I think overall, I feel like this team is beatable, especially at home. Yeah.
Look at what we did for the past 3 home matches, yes, including that draw versus New Mexico United. You think that New Mexico United coming in this year to the USL would be an easy team? No, I believe that they're one of the top 3 teams at the moment in the USL Western Conference. Once again, OKC Energy right up there in playoff contention too. So, yeah, and then of course Las Vegas Lights the same exact thing. Yes, they can't win on the road necessarily, but they can sure as heck win at home. And it only takes a little bit of a spark, as we've known and witnessed before, to win on the road, even in the USL, in the MLS, in anywhere. So, yeah, this could be a Las Vegas Lights little spark. So they have to, once again, RGVFC has to be on their A game. I think I'm almost positively sure that they can be on their A game, considering that they did play against a tough opponent and they are ready for another tough opponent at home to defend this home as well. It sounds a bit corny to say defend this home, but it's so true.
Yeah.
You have to defend it. You have to win. And I think they're ready for this challenge. And all their training leading up to this kind of is, leading up to this moment right here. They are trying for a 2 straight home win streak. They're trying for a 2 straight win streak in general. And so I think it's possible for sure. And this is the time for them. If this is the time for them to get hot, it's right now. And I think that they're more than capable of doing it now that they've shown that they are. They've shown it once again in preseason. And of course, that was preseason versus Austin Bolt and all these other teams. But now they're starting to shine. They're starting to show it. So it looks good. Looks better.
And now think about it. Tacoma Defiance, their win against Sacramento Republic, that was basically Seattle Sounders playing Sacramento. When they played outside of Tacoma, outside of the cold, or the freezing rain, like they played against the Toros, without, as far as I know, any considerable loanees from Seattle Sounders, they lost 5-0. So this Tacoma Defiance, I keep on saying it, that match, technically, I think it was a lucky result by Tacoma. In Las Vegas, I think the one we got to look out for, it's got to be Irvin Parra. He scored three goals, and he scored a hat trick against Tacoma. And so I honestly think that I think they're beatable. I'm looking at the goals right now, and it was like the first goal was just like this lucky shot. Like it wasn't hard. It was driven. It was on the ground, but it didn't have a lot of power. And the keeper, his reaction was like a typical FIFA keeper. Where the ball is going slow, rolling past him, and he makes like this whole jumping motion, and the ball just goes like below him. Like he makes an exaggerated motion to try and save it. That's how the keeper reacted in that goal. So I honestly think that this game is winnable. How much? I don't know. Oh, and that really was a penalty. So you got one lucky goal and then a penalty. That's why I continue and I stand by what I'm saying, that this result really is not a clear indicator of the power of Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Oh, are you kidding me? Wow, this keeper is bad. Wow. Yeah, I do not think that Nico or whoever is playing is as bad as this Tacoma Defiance keeper. So just in that, I think we have a chance.
Let's see, who would probably be our starting keeper? I think it would either be, like you said, Cordy or, or
Ben.
I just had his name
Ben
right
Willis
now.
Or Michael Nelson.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Ben Willis as well. Not Willis or Nelson for sure. I think it would either be Nelson or Nico at the moment. Because I think Ben Willis is for sure here to stay, and he will get his chances to play some more games.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I think it's just him on the sideline for now, and either Cordy or Nelson will probably end up behind the goal for Saturday's match.
Yeah.
So like you said, I don't see us giving up 5 goals, especially with that, considering what we've said as well. This defense looks a lot better than they have before. Now, of course, the offense, once again, they got to show up. They have to show up. And if the offense does not show up, then you're talking about another loss and probably down to 2,000 fans instead of those nice little 3,000. So, or close to 4,000 really, and actually a level out 3,000 is what you could actually see. So, yes, these wins are going to help bring back the crowd. Everyone's doing things like that, and I think it's possible here for sure against them. It's just going to have to take work. It's going to have to take that extra little work in practice, and for them not to get distracted by stuff that's, of course, going on this weekend, which would not necessarily be the dogs in the park, but also with the whole holiday situation going on right now, considering that tomorrow's Good Friday and all that fun stuff. They've just got to stay focused for that Saturday and then enjoy. They can enjoy that Sunday, but they got to stay focused for 90 minutes and make sure that offense is on the game. We want to see 8 shots on goal, go to 16 shots on goal. That's a goal for you guys, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And without Carlos Small, I might have to add that as well. It's another. He was on the bench this match, but he wasn't called for. He wasn't called on. Why? We had Michael Salazar was doing good. So was Chewy. And Malik Foster. I mean, Malik Foster was, trying to help out. And there's one thing I do want to add, from that goal, how Andrew Samuels was up there, up helping with the attack. And I think that's very crucial to help out Malik Foster, because there was many times in previous matches where it was Malik Foster just by himself. But OKC kind of gave them the luxury of having Andrew Samuels go up and help out in the attack, like you saw in that second goal with Chuy Enriquez, because Andrew was actually in the box when it happened. So I guess we can go ahead and let's say, all right, prediction for this match.
All right, prediction for this match. I think I'm kind of going to go with the same scoreline that we did see versus OKC. I really do see 2-1, and this time a victory for sure. And, of course, bold prediction would go that, well, of course, we do. I think this is going to be an obvious thing no matter what. We do it without Carlos Small. Once again, Carlos Small will be on the bench. But a real bold prediction here is that, well, things get heated once again. And this time, of course, those goals both come off of penalties for both sides, and then one goal for RGVFC just coming off of it normally.
Mm-hmm. I think my regular prediction would be that the Toros will take it 3-2. I'm going to go 3-2. And I think my bold prediction would be that. Ooh, it's a good one. I think my bold prediction is going to be that Las Vegas Lights is going to like break down, and 4-1 is my bold prediction with a red card for Las Vegas. I think someone is going to lose their temper, and they're gonna get a red, which is gonna open up the space for the Toros, for Chuy, for Malik, for Michael Salazar to do what they do best. So that.
Yeah, and they'll actually take advantage of that, unlike Arsenal.
Ouch. We got any Arsenal fans here? So there's actually an interesting comment on the chat. So Gilbert says about Carlos, he was practicing before the game and he was struggling hitting the goal with no one there. He looked really dejected about it too. I know we at the Stampede tried to cheer him on to build his confidence a little bit. And we talked about it last week. It's about confidence. Sean mentions it every time in Generation Orange. A striker is really, really streaky. He'll have moments where every shot he scores, or not every shot, but you know what I mean, like he'll score a lot of goals, and then all of a sudden he'll hit a slump and nothing goes right. And I think, who was it? Was it Michael Salazar? I think it was Michael. After that match against New Mexico, he said, once we score a goal, the floodgates are going to open, or something along those lines, because our confidence is going to be boosted. I still don't think, based on how everybody else is playing, I still don't think Carlos deserves to be a starter. But if he gets called as a substitute and has to go in, I feel that when he scores a goal, I think that's going to boost his confidence and he'll remember everything about being a striker. So
yeah.
Now, obviously, you can't have that little decision of like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice the momentum, the chemistry that we're building with Chuy, with Malik, with Michael, to put in Carlos because he needs a goal, he needs the confidence. No, you cannot sacrifice the team just to build this one guy. You got to put in whoever is in the best form.
Yeah, and we've already noticed that from here. And we've already noticed that that's how Coach is. He's not a man that's going to sacrifice momentum, of course, unless he's forced to, aka Houston Dynamo players being sent down, because that's a totally different story that's out of his control. Yeah. But if it's in his control, he's not going to sacrifice something like that. I mean, we've already talked about it. The pressure has been on him a bit, and he finally gets that win. And I saw last week he was, well, not necessarily calmer, but he was more enthusiastic, more excited, and things like that. Not just excited on the sidelines, like go here, go there, blah, 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 do all that. No, he was excited in a good way, and that was something that was good to see him. Of course, he had to rush out of there. I think he was he was going to have some fun, I'm pretty sure, with his family or something like that. But, yeah, it was something good. And, of course, something to add on Carlos Small. The only difference, though, is I think why he hasn't gotten back on this horse besides scoring goals is not only is it in his head, but it's his attitude towards this, too. We've said it before. He's got a poor attitude. Somewhat, he thinks he's kind of all of that at one point. And of course, when it gets to him, it can get to him pretty bad. I know a couple of players that I've seen go through this, where they can have a fantastic game, and then something could be going wrong in just their personal life or something really basic like that. They could think of something, and they'll shut off and they'll have one of the they'll have one of their poorest games out there in a while. I'm talking about Daniel House will do that for sure. Still, yes, he's still maturing, but he will do that. And then, of course, this player that I went to high school with on my team that was a lot like Daniel House, the way that he would just change attitudes, was DJ. That's what he went by. So yeah, it's in your head, and when you have that type of attitude, it doesn't help you too. And so that's something that's been struggling. That's made him struggle, I think, a bit more than he should. And shame to say, but it happens. And hopefully, of course, he gets it fixed. If not, well, you're looking at probably sending him back down to his original club and just
because remember,
back to hell.
remember that Carlos is still on a loan with RGV, and the original loan was extended because of how well he did in the second half of the last season. But if he's not putting in or I don't want to say he's not putting in the effort, more along the lines of he's not bringing the results that are expected of him, then Matt Jordan and the Dynamo are not going to keep him around. If they're willing to let go players that are doing their job, what makes you think that they are going to keep players that are not doing their job? So Blues fan, bold prediction, I finally watch an RGV win. I got another bold prediction. My other bold prediction is I am actually banned from HEB Park for the sake of the Toros winning.
Okay, well, apparently we will not see Edson Ochoa at HEB Park anymore this season, or, well, maybe, of course, next season because it's a different season. But yeah, we will not see him anymore. So congratulations to the promotion of Jacob Young as head of Down in the Valley.
Hold on there, Jethro. Hold on there. You'll be my what do they call them? Like those reporters that are out there on the field, field report.
Sideline reporter. What?
No, like
in-game reporter. I don't know.
Pretty much. So Blues says, because he says he's a jinx to RGV. Yeah, Blues. Apparently, every time he watches the games, the live streams of the games, Toros lose.
Oh yeah, because Blues, I think you're a bit more of a hardcore Houston Dynamo fan than anything. But yeah, of course he's here. He's here week in and week out on this. So
we love
apparently,
you,
if
Blues.
you
We
watch
love you.
them, yeah, it might be that. Of course.
Sloth says he feels that way about himself. Like every time he goes, the Toros lose. Gilberto says, I definitely think Carlos is trying. He was taking shots at goal after all the players had left, and he clearly looked like he wanted to go in. And I think that's good because it shows that he is not content to where he's at. That it hurts him not having that accuracy that is expected of him. I feel I'd be extremely worried if he would be one of the first ones off the pitch, or if he looked like he didn't care of just being on the bench. Then I'd be worried. But seeing this comment as saying like he's trying extra hard to practice with his shooting, it means like he knows that there's a problem, he knows how to fix it, and he's willing to take time off his extra time to alleviate the situation.
Yeah, that's good. This extra info is perfect. It's some stuff that we did not see after the game, of course, because even I went down to the field pretty fast, and yeah, I saw all the players celebrating, and I was, of course, wanting to get some video of that, of them celebrating too, and yeah, it was just something really cool to see. They were kind of celebrating, giving support to the supporters and everyone around them. So that was cool. But yeah, this is good information to know that, yeah, Carlos Small, he wants this. He wants to start back up again. He wants, of course, to go in, which my guessing, of course, he's got to show that he's ready. He's got to show that he can go in let's say the 60th, 70th minute due to the fact that maybe the offense isn't necessarily going on, because like we said, and we're kind of superstitious in this way, but at the same time, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's a slogan. I got it back.
Yeah.
but yeah, no. Carlos Small, I hate to say it, he needs to stay on the bench for at least a half, and at least more than a half. Yeah, like I said, 60 minutes, for at least 60 minutes. And then, of course, he can be put on if we need some extra little month once again. Because, yeah, like we said, we knew that he could be a lethal weapon with Carlos Small, with Chuy Enriquez. There we go. Had it backwards for a second. But, yeah, we know that he can be a lethal weapon with Chuy Enriquez out there. He just needs to be on his A game as well and not think that he's all that in the world constantly. When he's there focusing like we're hearing that he is, I think he can be that player once again. But, of course, don't put him in just yet, Tristan. Let's wait, of course, because and I'm pretty sure he thinks the same way too. Let's keep the starting 11 like it is and see how we can change it throughout the game. Because, yeah, you got to change it throughout the game because you know what's going on then.
I think my biggest fear, and I think that's what Blues fan is trying to kind of mention, because he says, you're not wrong, but I want to see young talent play well. And the thing is that because this is a developmental team, my biggest fear is that Coach Echeverri would want to rotate a couple of players here and there, like we saw this week, having Copete on instead of Romilio or instead of Brad Dunwell, who we haven't seen play in a while either. But I think it just goes to show you as well how deep this roster is player-wise. The number of players that we have is phenomenal. I mean, you look at the bench for OKC, and they only have 5 players available on the bench, whereas the Toros have the luxury of having 7 on the bench and players up in the stands. So
exactly. There was, real quick, sorry to cut you off there, but there were a group of players in the stands too that were for sure for RGVFC. So that's a big thing, just like you said. We have depth, and that's a fantastic thing. Now, I don't see Jerson necessarily switching it out just yet. I still think that he will probably do that if we get into a worse streak or something like that, especially closer to the end of the year.
So Gilberto says, on what Jacob said about the celebration, you had a bunch of kids and adults stopping to take pics with the players and Stampede. I hope to get these results more often so that the fan base can get fired up. I definitely agree, Gilberto. At the end of the day, you can have an excellent atmosphere. You can have excellent, what's the word I'm looking for? Extra things out there, to attract the fans, promotions.
Yeah, you can have an excellent staff to do all those things. Yeah.
But if the actual on-field performance isn't well, people just can't seem to put value in these tickets and coming back when the team is losing and losing and losing. And we saw it in the first couple of home games, where we didn't get good results. There was many comments of people like, oh, well, I'm not going to go back, or, oh, I invited a couple of friends and they say they're not coming back because this team isn't good, or whatever reason. So if this team needs to go on a winning streak, to get these fans back. And it sucks saying it, but us people in the Valley, we tend to be very result-oriented when it comes to teams. Unless, of course, you're a Cowboys fan and you've been years in mediocrity and you still have all these Cowboy fans going, yeah, this is our year. Yeah, but, that's a different story. But that's an exception. That's an exception to the rule, I feel.
Though a lot of those fans do hide in the closet until they do get good and make the playoffs or something like that. And that is true, that a lot of those fans do kind of hide. Yes, there are still those fans that are diehards and decide to stick with them through thin and thin. Those are the true fans. But those fans that say that they're fans when they get good and kind of hide when they're not necessarily doing too well in the easiest conference in the NFL, then, they're not true fans.
So Sloth says, random note, I think I saw Jorginho James in the stands in a New Mexico match. Doubtful, because Jorginho did not return to the team. He's not part of the roster. He was on a loan these past years. The loan was not renewed. So I think he's back in Jamaica. I highly doubt it. Doubt that Jorginho is at RGV, much less, dressed in RGV attire. So
who knows? He could have gotten his visa and decided to stay in the United States and decided to become an actual fan from the stands.
Maybe, but I'm seeing it more along the lines like he's still part of the squad. He's still part of the roster. Interestingly, and I posted this on Twitter a couple of days ago. Speaking of roster, I was looking at the official roster at the USL Championship website. Turns out Ronaldo Peña, the young Venezuelan striker for the Houston Dynamo, was actually what's the word I'm looking for? He was signed.
We'll see it.
Well, he was signed, or he's part of the official Toros roster. Yeah. So it's interesting. You see in the Dynamo perspective, he hasn't been on the bench, if I recall correctly. He hasn't played minutes at all either, which is pretty much the same situation that Fuenmayor is in. So you would expect Ronaldo Peña to get some minutes with the Toros. Now, I'm not saying or I'm not affirming that Ronaldo is coming to the Valley this weekend. I'm not saying that because there's no official information. I don't have any insider sources at all saying, oh, he's coming. And if I did, I'd probably not say anything because, I don't want to get in trouble. But
yeah.
The fact that he is on the official roster makes it possible. Maybe not this week, but maybe another week. So, and Ronaldo Peña has shown to be, when he played with the Dynamo, he's shown to be a good player. I mean, he scored against Frisco, a really, really good goal. So,
yeah. And to add on that too, Ronaldo Peña is a good player. And remember when a lot of players got added onto the official RGVFC USL site, basically onto their roster, they weren't necessarily in that lineup in real life until probably, I believe, almost 2 weeks later or something like that. So what I'm probably going to see, or what we're probably going to end up seeing, is that that those players, especially Ronaldo Peña, will probably end up playing with the team, if I had to guess, on those two road stands. The weirdest two road stands, I will say. I mean, yes, the Wednesday road game versus LA Galaxy is not as weird as we expect, but the Tuesday one, that's a weird day to have a match. And that's versus Portland Timbers Dos.
And
so, yeah, it's a bit weird. And, yeah, if I had to guess, we'll probably see one of those players, or we'll probably see Ronaldo Peña there.
So, you look at the roster right now, and you got Nico, you got Tyler Derrick, you got Ben Willis, Isaac Acevedo, Osmar Chavero, Michael Nelson, Carlos Viveros, we haven't seen a lot from him, Robert Coronado, Robert Castellanos, Zach Jackson, another player who we haven't seen a lot from him, Sergio Mena, Connor Donovan, Chris Duval, who I hope never comes back anymore, Sam Junqua, Kyle Adams, Kevin Garcia, Eric McHugh, Andrew Samuels, David Cabrera, Camilo Monroy, Romilio Hernandez, Jesus Enriquez, Brad Dunwell, Andres Arcila, Hector Copete, Victor Garza. We need to find out what's going on with Victor. If his injury if he relapsed on an injury, or he needed some more time to rehabilitate, because it is weird that he's dropped off the roster of the 18. Nico Lemoyne, Kevin Rodriguez, Brandon Morales, Isidro Martinez. By the way, very underrated, I think. Isidro is very underrated.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you named a couple of names that I'd also like to say. Where has David Cabrera been? He hasn't necessarily suited up at all lately. He has been in the locker room. The last time that I had seen him was in the locker room after the game, congratulating his twin brother,
Not twin.
Wilmer. So
But I get the point.
basically,
But I think it also
they look very similar. Is my point.
But I think it all goes back to how deep we are, especially in the midfield. Because you're looking at 12 midfielders in the roster. So it's really deep. It's really deep. So obviously there's going to be a lot of players that are not going to get any action at all or very limited action, especially when you got guys up there that are doing good when they're being called. Like Isidro, I think Isidro is going to be a player that is that it's going to be very difficult for him to lose his starting position. And then forwards, you got Malik Foster, Wilmer Cabrera Jr., Ronaldo Pena, who apparently has been given number 21, which is weird. Usually all other Houston Dynamo loanees don't necessarily have a number on the roster, but he does in 21. Carlos Small, 58, Aldo Quintanilla, who's out for the season, and Michael Salazar. So I think I'm going to go with what you say. I think we might see him in 2 weeks, or we might see him next home game in 3 weeks. Right?
Yeah, something like that. I think it would be 3 weeks. Something crazy, because it's a weird schedule considering that after this game, of course, then we play.
The next home game is until May 18th against LA Galaxy 2. Because it's after Las Vegas, we go to LA Galaxy on the 24th. We play Portland Timbers over there on the 30th. And then Friday, May 10th, we visit Phoenix Rising. So, but we'll talk about that later on as we get closer to those dates. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, not really. I mean, just real quick to sum up what has happened in the past couple of days. Crazy games have gone on in the Champions League. Very fun games that I watched this past week. So that was pretty fun for the Champions League. And yeah, other than that, not really anything else. I mean, I guess there is also one big thing. It has been a year since I joined Down in the Valley, thanks to Edson. So pretty cool.
Really? Like, this is the anniversary today?
I believe so, yeah. Facebook. Thank you, Facebook. You've at least done one thing correctly with the memories.
Dude, that's...
And the birthday. So 2 things, really.
Dude, that's... Time flew. Time really, really flew. Like, I still remember... Like, I don't remember the exact date. I'm not going to lie. But I still remember when I sent you that message, asking for you to be on the show. And, man, it's amazing to see how much you've grown, in this year and all these experiences that you've had, man. So just keep going at it, man. And we're all extremely proud of what you've done with Down in the Valley. How you've kind of gotten that little outreach to now you're got a job with the Monitor in some way, one way or another. So really, really proud of everything you've done. And you just got to keep at it. Blues fan says, Viva Ajax. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, is this Ajax team a surprise, or is this something that should be considered normal?
Well, I mean, they have been up, kind of on the rise a bit lately, considering I still recall when they played Manchester United for the UEFA Europa League, the UEFA Europa League there, in that championship match, And so, of course, yeah, they have been on the rise. They got out of group stage and all of that from a Netherlands team, to be exact. So really impressive from them. It is, like a couple of people have been saying now, it is Leicester-like for sure, because no one necessarily expected them to be this good. But I think it was bound to happen for sure for them to get this far. But should they be taken more seriously now? I guess, because their team that they're facing is a Tottenham Hotspurs, which, yes, they were really impressive in that game, but now I don't know if Tottenham can keep that hype up for sure. And I think, yeah, for sure, Ajax could go to the finals.
The way I see it, so number one, I think that this Ajax team is not hype. I think this is a reality. I think this shows how well Ajax has worked on their academy throughout the years. Because most of these players, if not all the players, have been academy products.
Oh yeah, that's right. I believe that they bought a player for £1.
Yeah. So this is all like developmental players that have matured. Their captain is 19 years old. At 19, I came back from Texas A&M, with shame because I decided to change my major and decided to go back to the Valley and study over there. And this guy he's the captain for his team in the Champions League playoffs. Like, it just goes to show like how well this team has been built. Now, you mentioned that Ajax is going against Tottenham Hotspurs. And forgive me, Sean, if you listen to this. And I know I'm probably sure the Blues fan is going to go tell Sean about this. But from what I saw defensively against Manchester City, they're going to have a hard time against Ajax. Because this team is the first team to defeat Real Madrid at home in playoffs and Juventus at their home.
Yep.
These are two really good teams on paper that they defeated at home. So this is a force to be reckoned with. And defensively against Manchester City, yeah, Tottenham was just bad. Like, they were, if it wasn't for VAR, they would have been eliminated against Man City in a spectacular fashion.
Okay, yeah, that is true. But once again, you're playing at Manchester City, and Manchester City just at that place had given their opponents terrible things. Like, we're talking about the first leg of, I believe, all of Manchester City's games, which, yes, had only been 2 for the round of 16, were close coming into Etihad Stadium, or whatever it's called. And yeah, they were close, but then Manchester City took away with it due to weather, of course. Just, yeah, the home field advantage is crazy there because it's nonetheless a spectacular stadium. But then you push even forward after that. Tottenham, yes, they were poor defensively a bit, but when their attackers came into play, Yes, they only basically had 2 attackers. And it's funny, you mentioned, of course, Tottenham in that game. Pep Guardiola, that coach from Man City, said that team was all Harry Kane's team. Well, they played against them without Harry Kane. So, yes, they are missing a couple of pieces. The defense did look a bit sloppy. You shouldn't give up a lot of goals, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time come April 30th, because I believe that's when the the first leg actually begins of the semi-finals. So that should be really exciting to watch. But yeah, can Ajax do it? They might be able to. I forget who's hosting the first and second legs, because of course I think whoever hosts the second leg will really be able to win it. And I think it's kind of randomized as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, because I have no idea if it's randomized or not. I believe it is.
I'm not sure about that either. So, Blues fan brings up this comment. He says, "We'll tell you this: Spurs will be annoyingly difficult to beat, and here's why. Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Eriksson, and Sanchez have all played for Ajax before."
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, no, I see that being a problem.
It's gonna be an interesting match. Another player you got to look out for, because he's been on fire. Heung-min Son.
Yeah.
It's
a man who was reportedly, there were talks before this Premier League season started that he was going to have to give up his contract, if I'm not mistaken. That was him, and have to join the Korean Army or something crazy like that.
Basically, the way the South Korea Army works is that every South Korean citizen has to undergo through through military, has to join the military for a certain amount of time. The only exceptions to that are for athletes that have won a championship or a medal, whether it's in the Olympics or something, with the national team. So with the Asian, I think was it the Asia Cup that South Korea won? Because I know they won something that gave Heung-min Son the exception that he needed to continue to play with Tottenham. Because had they not won that competition, he would have had to leave Tottenham to go do his military time. So, and then you see now the way he's been playing, and you're like wow, I'm just glad that it happened the way it happened, and because we would have lost a really, really good player to watch, independent if you're a Tottenham fan or not. You know, just watching this guy play like he does, you know, it's very entertaining. It's like watching Mo Salah. Like, you might not be a huge fan of Liverpool, you know, but you watching this guy score goals the way he does, you know, it gets your attention.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's a perfect segue to Liverpool for me to talk about them, because they are my team, have been. People don't necessarily know this, but I was kind of a fan of them for a couple of years before, of course, this one. And then, of course, what made me love them was their run up to the Champions League last year, too. And that's when I really became a fan of them as well. But now, of course, they have this team. They got this crazy coach. That's awesome. His name is Jurgen Klopp. I don't know. But, yeah, he's an awesome coach. And the crazy thing about it is it reminds me of Spurs basketball. I think I've said it before, but it's so true. You've got Mohamed Salah, Mo Salah, and then you've got Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino right there. Then, of course, Henderson. All these players that kind of come together. You could technically say that they have a big three. Oh, yeah, with Alisson. But it's fundamental soccer once again. It just goes back to that. They got hot at the right time. Yes, people can go burn them this year and say you lost a huge lead to Manchester City in the Premier League title race. But right now, of course, they're playing their best soccer I think they've ever played this year, in my opinion, and it's come down to a perfect time. They get to host that final leg against Barcelona, and you're telling me that's not going to push them over? That probably will. Now, I'm afraid for Alisson, because sometimes he does give up some easy goals that could be saved. But of course, they just need to keep themselves out of foul trouble. It does sound like basketball there, but they cannot let anyone go to that line, go up to that dot, because you know who's going to take that shot if it's on the dot? None other than Lionel Messi, and that man is lethal. Now, I'm hoping that he does choke for that series, but...
Well, all you have to do is put him in Argentina jersey, and he's going to choke either way.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think that can probably happen. Just make those stripes look blue or light blue, and boom.
So, as a Liverpool fan, how probable is it for Liverpool to go past Barcelona in the next stage of the I was about to say CONCACAF Champions League, in the next stage of the UEFA Champions League?
Oh, it's very probable, just given the fact of how they've been playing soccer in general. Yes, they did play the easiest team in my opinion. Yeah, they did play the easiest team in the quarterfinals, and that's for sure. But that 6-1 goal differential against Porto is not a joke. That's actually the real deal. You're talking about the plays. I ended up watching that game, and the plays that they were able to make were really good. Now, of course, sometimes, yes, it's a different story because they were able to set back, so it's not necessarily a full team. But, yeah, it's very probable given the fact that they're at home in the second leg. I think, yes, they can give up a couple of goals to Barcelona in that first leg. And, of course, it could be asking a lot if they just score one goal on the road.
Mm-hmm.
At Camp Nou, you're talking about basically 100,000 people in that stadium. Yes, it's like 99,000 plus, but it's basically 100,000. I bet you they'll have a lot of standing room basically at that place. And so, yeah, I think it's very probable for them to move on just the way that they've been playing so far. Yes, they're kind of working each other really tiring, but
and Porto is not a bad team. Like, Porto has decent players. They have Iker Casillas in goal. So this wasn't like a team that was trying to make a Cinderella story. This was a team that has been competitive in the Champions League for many years. And the fact that Liverpool completely obliterated them the way they did, it just goes to show you the firepower that Liverpool has. And Barcelona cannot, minimize those efforts that they did. And I honestly think you can say, well, it's because you're a Real Madrid fan and you hate Barcelona, which I do. But I think that Liverpool can give them a run for their money. And I would not be surprised that Liverpool makes it to the final.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sincerely, that's what I hope for. Because Liverpool may not be a team I could say, oh, it's my favorite team, or I'm a fan of Liverpool, but it's a team that I have utmost respect for, especially because I love Jurgen Klopp as a coach. So this is, and Mo Salah. I think with Mo Salah, I think it's very possible that it'll happen. Common sense will say, or history, or the reputation of Barcelona will say they're the favorites to go past. But I don't think it's going to be a night and day difference. I think if Barcelona were to pass, I think they're going to suffer. Now in the other leg, you have Ajax and Tottenham.
Yeah, it's just the Final Four now. It's blown by so fast, and yeah, I mean, I'm excited for both those matches.
You know what sucks though is that Champions League matches are when I'm at work, and so I have no way of watching them. When I do, it's just audio only. So it ticks me off not being able to see Champions League matches live. But I sincerely hope that it's going to be really good matches and see who makes it to the final in the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium. I know since that's going to be in a weekend, I'm not going to miss that.
Weekend June 1st to be exact as well.
And I've made comments before, and I'll say it. I made comments in Generation Orange where I said since Real Madrid isn't in it, I don't care about the Champions League, but it's all a lie. This is the Champions League. And no matter what, the quality is there that even if your team isn't there, just you want to see good football. So you're gonna watch these games, especially these semifinals. They are very, very attractive by how each team plays. So it's gonna be really good matches. Now, as far as the Premier League, it's really, really tight between Man City and Liverpool. Liverpool has the lead right now. Do you think that they've got what it takes to keep Man City at bay, or do you think they might lose it?
Yeah, and why I say that is look at who Liverpool have left to play, and look at who Man City have left to play.
So,
if I'm not mistaken, Man City has Tottenham left to play as well, and I believe Liverpool played one of their last tough games versus Chelsea, a Chelsea side that was not easy.
Yeah, so Man City has Tottenham left to play, Manchester United left to play, Burnley, Leicester City, Brighton and Hove Albion, and that's it. I think it's 5 games left. So obviously, right off the bat, you have 2 difficult matches with Tottenham and Manchester United. Then you'll have 3 others that are not as strong: Burnley, Leicester City, and Brighton and Hove Albion. And then you look at Liverpool's last 5 games in the Premier League, and they have Cardiff City, they have Huddersfield, Newcastle, and Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
And
those first 2 games those first 2 games of the 5 games scheduled for Man City, you're talking about Man City playing Manchester United, and that game's going to get ugly, and that right there, that could be the difference. All Manchester City has to do is lose one of those games, and of course, that may be the difference. Yes, Liverpool has a game in hand, but what Liverpool is still doing is they're winning, so they're balancing out those games in hand big time. Of course, now they've got 2 points over Man City instead of Man City having 1 point over them. And so that one loss for Man City, or even, of course, Liverpool, can make the whole difference. So,
yeah, if Man City trips over either Tottenham or Manchester United, I have a feeling that that's going to be it, and Liverpool are going to take it. But it is something that is really attractive, because I honestly hate it when a league is decided 7 matches ahead of the last week, because it makes besides from relegation battles, it makes the rest of the weeks worthless. Whereas here, it's gonna be down to the wire, not only in relegation but also in who's going to be the champion. So it's gonna be pretty awesome. And as far as relegation, you got Cardiff City, Fulham, and Huddersfield, and you got Brighton and Hove Albion, as well as Southampton, really close to that relegation battle. But right now, the ones that for sure, with 15 points left for them, I think, right? No, with 12 games. So they have 12 points ahead of them, or 12 points left in this league. Fulham and Huddersfield, yeah, they're already relegated. Fulham would have to win every game. Actually, no.
Yeah, no. Fulham, I believe, officially are relegated.
Yes,
that
because
Brighton.
Brighton has 33 points, and there's only 12 points left. So there's no way they can get out of relegation zone. Cardiff is the one who's still trying to fight for preservation and staying in the Premier League with Brighton and maybe Southampton. And it sucks because Cardiff, with the whole thing happened with Cardiff City, with Emiliano Sala and things like that. But football is football, and you don't get the results, you're gonna get relegated. So it's gonna be a fun couple of matches. And with that, we are nearing the end of today's show. It was a really good discussion, and I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Gilberto, Blues fan, Sloth, for being on the show tonight. I want to thank you all the 5 people that are watching right now. If you haven't given it a like, be sure to like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now that we have we have the sponsorship going on right now with the Beautiful Game Network, with Roughneck and goldengoalpress.com. It's really important to get the listens, get the likes, and the views, because it helps us out monetarily at the end of the season. So I really appreciate all y'all's support. If you can help us out that way, we would greatly appreciate it as well. And having said all of this, once again, we really would like to thank our sponsor, Golden Goal Press, the best choice for you to get custom shirts, hats, mugs, other items for yourself or the organization. Be sure to also check out their website and all their amazing products on there for a fraction of the price of other places at goldengoalpress.com. Also, we want to thank Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. You can get custom scarves for your group or your team at roughneckscarves.com. Thank you all for your support. Jacob, thank you so much for being on this week tonight, and thank you for going to the games out there when I can't get to go, and for everything that you've done for Down in the Valley in this year that you've been with us. Really greatly appreciate it. You've done an excellent job, and let's keep going at it, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we've talked about that many times. Want to thank as well Rey Silva of South Texas Border Sports for his help going to the practices, getting video interviews with them at practices. So if you guys have not done so already, be sure to look for him on YouTube, South Texas Border Sports. You'll find all the interviews that he has, not only with the Toros, but also with the Vipers, also with actually, are the Dorados still a thing?
The Dorados are still a thing. That league is still a thing, but of course, it's an interesting league, to say so least.
You know what they say. So be sure to support him as well. more like band. I wonder what I think he's talking about. I think he's talking about the band, me being banned from AGV Park. Yeah, so it was funny. JT from RGVFC Media, he tweets out. He's like, "Well, I guess we should ban Edson, because apparently the Toros win when he's not around." I was like, "Thanks, guys." But yeah, so it's funny. I actually was thinking that when the final whistle came, it was like, holy crap, am I the bad luck to this team when I go there? but yeah. But thanks a lot, everybody. Hope to see you all next week. We should be back on Wednesday in regular time. I really want to say, sorry for postponing it for today, but I had something with the family come up that I really had to attend to here in Webster. So I did not have a choice. I had to postpone it for today. But thank you all for coming in this on this kind of awkward time. But we'll see you next week. Take care. # we are toros. # somos toros. # píntate naranja. Jacob, last words before we go.
Last words. Let's go. Hopefully we get the win tomorrow, and of course, hopefully this is the start of a big win streak.
Definitely. All right, guys. Have a good night. Take care.
I wake up early, I sleep alone. I try to find love from a stranger on my phone. My vision blurry, so I forget. Dying to hold you, but you left me here for dead.